physical shapeshifting, we're going to need part 1, 2, 3, however many, I don't even know how many, because it's such a deep, layered subject. But however many we need until we get through all of this. I need to, of course, start at the beginning, and the very beginning is telling you that I used to be a complete skeptic. I think it's very important to show you where I come from and that story, because I understand the skeptical side of things, because I used to be one. I used to be skeptic to any magic at all, let alone something like shapeshifting. For the majority of my life, I thought, you know what, if anyone could shapeshift, I'm sitting here feeling literally like a wolf soul trapped in a human's body. I want to rip out of my own skin. And I've never felt human. I've never thought like a human. I've got instincts that they don't. I can smell things they can't. I can see things in the dark they can't. I can hear things they can't. And I'm sitting here thinking, if anyone, with the way that I was born, if anyone could shapeshift, it'd be me. But here I am, still human. You know, I just thought I was born slightly different, with slightly heightened senses, and just thought differently, different thought process. Never fit in, never really understood people, but I understood animals right away. And I just thought, just there's plenty of people like that, and I'd forgotten for most of my life, for over a decade and a half, I forgot that the answer had been provided to me already. I'd forgotten when I was really, really, really young what happened, and then also when I was about 4 or 5 what happened, and that lack of memory paired with me not being even willing to entertain the idea at all, until one day it all just kind of blew up in my face, literally. Just, I mean, not just magic, but just my abilities, everything just kind of, it was suppressed and then it just exploded. And I had to get past the point where I thought it was all in my head. So I had to get past that, and so I would be searching for other people who would say the same thing, or see the same thing, or witness the same thing, but without telling them, because if you tell them first, then they might say, oh yeah, I see this too, or this happened to me too, and when they're just trying to, not hurt your feelings. So I would test people, and they'd have no idea, and I would wait for them to say something. With a broad spectrum of magic, not just shapeshifting, just different things. And then with the shapeshifting itself, it was one of the last things that I latched onto as a potential possibility that it exists, because of the nature of it, just being that kind of magic that's not, it's not easy to wrap your head around. A lot of people make this, and I'll talk more about this later, more complex than it actually is, with way too much science and logic in it, for that very reason, because it's difficult to wrap your head around in the modern day society that we live in, that tells us that not even regular magic could exist, much less that. Our ancestors, only about 200 years ago, still believed, widely, majority believed in stuff like this, practiced stuff like this. But unfortunately, so many people died out so fast, especially with the witch hunts. It just died out, that knowledge, that wisdom, died out with them for the most part. So going back to when I was about 4 or 5, actually, my father just crossed paths with this person like a needle in a haystack. It's one of those things you just know the universe planned it, because it was that random. And they just happened to, at this new job, work together in this new job. And he offered to take me to a day camp whenever my parents are busy. And my father obviously took up the offer because we were in a new place and they didn't really have many options as far as babysitting and stuff like that. So an entire day camp was like too irresistible for him. If you don't know, my family severely abused me, and a lot of things I shouldn't even be alive here. Just telling you, talking, breathing. That's how bad it was. A few times my heart actually stopped for a little bit, and I was technically dead, but not really, because I survived it. But what I'm trying to say is, they're not good people. They were Abrahamic, cult-like, 1600s, Nazi-like people. And I was born like this. A shapeshifter, a witch, and that's their child. So, anyway, moving on. He could sense that, and he could sense that no one was going to give me the answers I needed. And he could also sense that no one else was going to come along after him. So that he needed to teach me all this stuff while he still could, while I was still there, before my family wised up and realised just how much of an influence he was going to have on me. Because anytime anyone befriended me or had any kind of influence on me, they refused to allow me to go there anymore. And so I think he's a very visionary, and I think he saw something, and he just knew he was meant to help. And I've tried and searched, but I cannot find the right. I find lots of people named Walking Crow. I can't find the right Walking Crow. I remember his face, I remember what he looked like, and I've searched to try and find him, just to thank him. I can't even find him on Facebook. I can't find him anywhere. It's too many. It's a sea of people, and I just wanted to thank him for helping me, because it changed my entire life. And it was odd, because it was like decades in the making. He had to tell me all this stuff when I was too little to understand it, and the very last time that I was allowed to be there at this Indigenous day camp was, it was open to the public, but they taught Indigenous beliefs. And the very last time he said, it's not going to make sense now, but one day everything is going to make sense. You're a physical shapeshifter, and you need to remember this. You're probably going to forget it for a while, but you need to one day remember. And I'll never forget, I thought to myself, even though I didn't know, the only word I knew was shape. I didn't know what physical was. I didn't know what shifter was. And I thought, well, he said this is really important, so I am going to remember. Well, over 2.5 decades later, That's how long it took for me to remember again. Only at the point where I was having way too many current life proof. A different clairvoyant that I crossed paths with said the same thing that Walking Crow said, although I didn't trust them, so I kind of just, brushed that one off. I actually sat there saying, what harm can it do? What harm can it do? Let's just settle this right now. I'm going to actually try to shapeshift and see what happens. Well, I had to first let myself open enough to the idea to even try to the point where I actually tried instead of just saying I tried. But I started feeling this tingling, and then I started feeling muscles and bones shifting, and then I got to the chakras that were imbalanced, and I nearly vomited. And everything stopped. But it was enough for me to realise that is why this gift will always stay dormant unless you are mind body so strong enough, because it asks so much of your mind, your body and your soul, that if you're not strong enough, you literally physically can't. It's suppressed for good reason. It's dormant for good reason. The really, really young was something I really shouldn't even remember. I was so young. But that memory came shortly after the memory of Walking Crow. And all these memories that I don't know how I even forgot them. Some of them I was old enough to remember, but I still forgot. The really young one was when I actually partially shapeshifted claws and fangs to defend myself, but again, it's not the memories really that did it. It was the current time in my life, what was happening then, the fact that I have multiple people telling me, without me bringing it up, without me even suggesting it, telling me. So one person told me before I was old enough to know what shapeshifter was, much less physical shapeshifter. I had no idea what that meant, and I had someone tell me all the way back then. Before I was, there's no motive for them to tell me that when I don't even know what it is. That kind of thing. You know it has to be real, because if you don't even know what it is, you definitely didn't bring it up, and you definitely don't even have an awareness, a subconscious awareness of it that they could pull from. And that Walking Crow was really what did it. His words. Even with all the proof I had physically, I would have probably doubted a lot of it. I would have doubted it, saying, oh, maybe this is just me in my head. But he said everything before it ever happened, way before it ever. He said everything before I understood. That's just the icing on the cake. That's the last straw. That's the thing that just tipped everything over and all the dominoes fell down. That is just the thing that just made everything fall. And it made my skepticism fall completely. If you're a skeptic, you'll need something like that to make you not a skeptic anymore. I don't blame you, but I just wanted you to know that is who's telling this. This is where it's coming from. And believe it or don't, that's fine. Unless you have that kind of proof, and you won't be shown it unless you're deserving of it and ready to see it.